They told me it only shows you the lives you could have lived. What they didn't mention was how real it feels. The air's got a weight to it, like a storm's always about to break but never does. The lights flicker, not from power shortage, but from hesitation, as if the place itself remembers too much. I found the museum by accident. Or maybe it found me. It was supposed to be a warehouse. That's what my contact said. Abandoned. Empty. Good place to squat while the callbots cleared District 12. But instead of rusted crates and sleeping rats, I found a single doorway at the end of a hall glowing dim green. No wires, no lock, just a flickering screen above it that read, "Admit one." No guards, no cameras, no warning, just that door, and the soft, almost maternal hum of machines waiting behind it. I should have walked away, but regret is a funny thing. It softens your judgment, warps time, makes the past feel closer than the ground beneath your boots. So I stepped inside. The first thing I noticed was the smell. Ozone and old paper, like a library in a lightning storm. The air felt pre-programmed, like it had been designed for lungs that once belonged to me. The room was long and narrow, lined with doors, each one labeled with a memory I didn't recognize. The day you said yes, the time you left early, the silence after her voice. I walked past a dozen before I stopped. My hand lifted on its own, like muscle memory pulled from a life I hadn't lived. The door read, "The night you stayed." I didn't remember the night, but I remembered the woman. Her name was Lyora. Short, red hair, eyes that looked like they'd seen heaven and hell and were still trying to forgive both. She used to hum when she cooked, barefoot on cold tile. We weren't married, not really, just close enough to pretend. The night she begged me to stay, I didn't. There was a job, a gun, a payout. I told her I'd be back by morning. I wasn't. She was gone by the time I returned. Took her things, left behind a coffee mug and a note that read, "You keep choosing ghosts. I can't be another one." And now, here I stood, staring at a door labeled with the choice I never made. I opened it. Inside, the room was dim. A table, 2 chairs, a half-empty wine bottle. She sat there, wearing my hoodie, her bare feet on the second chair. She looked older, softer, tired in the way only people who are safe can be. She smiled, not at me, at the version of me across the table, laughing, brushing a strand of her hair back behind her ear. I didn't breathe, didn't blink. This wasn't a memory. It was a life I never lived, and I had just walked into it. The room didn't notice me, not right away. It was like watching a film, only I could feel the heat of the wine glass on the table. Smell the roast chicken, still warm in the air. Hear the softness in her laugh that used to make my ribs ache. The version of me across the table, let's call him the other me, was easy. Loose shoulders, barefoot, no weapon tucked at the ankle. He looked lighter, like he hadn't spent the last decade surviving, like he'd lived. They joked about something, some old movie I never had time to watch. She leaned in, touched his wrist. I remember that. She used to do that when she wanted you to know she meant it, that she was still there. I almost called out to her, almost warned her, told her to run before this version of me shattered too. But then she looked directly at me. Not the other me, her head tilted. The smile faded. "I thought you stayed," she said quietly. I stepped back, heart racing. She stood slowly, her bare feet silent on the floor, eyes never leaving mine. The other me kept talking, unaware, his voice muffled like it came from underwater. I didn't mean to come here," I stammered. "I didn't know it would be you." She took another step forward. I could see the faint lines at the corner of her eyes, the glint of a ring that was never on her finger in my world. "You never stay," she whispered. I felt something slip, in my gut, in my mind. "What is this place?" I asked. She looked past me then, toward the door I came in from. It was gone, just smooth wall now. She stepped closer, inches away, reached out, not toward me, but through me. Her hand passed through like mist. "You're not supposed to touch the glass," she said. A low alarm sounded, distant, like an old school bell echoing through a dream. The image began to blur. Her face glitched, briefly flickering with pain, with disappointment. Then she was gone. And the room was empty. Just me, just the wine, just the ache. I dropped into the chair, still warm. The other me had vanished like he never existed. Maybe he hadn't. Maybe he was just a shadow wearing my face better than I ever did. I picked up the glass. It smelled like something from before the ration years, something rich and careless. I drank it in one pull, and I hated that it made me feel alive. The door reappeared, blinking now. I stood, throat burning, eyes heavier than I could carry. My hand hovered over the panel. I knew I should leave, that I'd already seen too much, but I wasn't looking for closure. I was looking for the life where I didn't screw everything up. And if this place really held all the paths I didn't take, then maybe, just maybe, there was still a version of me worth finding. I kept walking. The hallway had shifted while I was inside the last room. It was longer now, darker. The doors were closer together, like the past was pressing in from all sides. Each one still had a label, each one a fork in the road I never saw coming. But the names were different now. When you ignored the call. When you laughed too late. When you didn't say hello. Small things, insignificant even, but the weight behind those words hit me harder than any of the bigger ones. I opened the next door before I could stop myself. It was a train platform. Rainy. Familiar. There she was again. Different time, same woman. She stood beneath a flickering terminal screen, hugging her coat tighter. Younger this time. No ring. Her hair was longer. She looked like she hadn't slept. I knew this moment. I'd passed her by on this platform years ago. Saw her crying but didn't stop. I was late for something. Always late. Always running. The version of me in this room didn't run. He stopped. He asked, "Are you okay?" That was it. Just 3 words. She looked up, eyes swollen, makeup running. She didn't answer, but she didn't have to. Because that small act, barely a moment, was enough to change everything. Cut to the next memory. Same room, same scene. But this time they're having coffee, then dinner, then moving in together. I'm watching a life form from the seed of a single sentence, and I'm sick with it, because I remember what I did that day. I walked right past her, put in my earbuds, told myself it was none of my business, that I didn't have time. I thought kindness needed a reason, that it had to be earned. Turns out, it just needed to be given. The glass began to fog. The images slipped away. I stood there a while longer, staring at nothing, trying to hold on to what wasn't mine, trying to forgive myself. Back in the hall, the doors were thinner now, no longer labeled with choices, just moments. One door read, "You slept in." Another, "You didn't call her back." I opened them anyway. In one, a friend I hadn't seen in years jumped from a rooftop hours after I ignored his message. In another, a job interview I bailed on turned out to be for a project that launched a movement, something that changed people's lives. I wasn't a villain in these stories. I was just absent. And absence leaves a scar, too. I fell to my knees in that hallway, pressed my forehead to the cold floor. The silence was louder than any scream. So many lives I could have lived, so many people I could have saved or been saved by. And I threw them away, not in big, dramatic acts of failure, but in small, stupid ways. The kind you don't even feel until they're all you have left. I don't know how long I stayed like that. Minutes, hours. Time doesn't work the same in this place. Maybe it doesn't work at all. Eventually, a new door appeared before me. It didn't have a label, just one word glowing faintly in red. Choose. It didn't ask what, didn't ask who, just choose. I reached for the door. The moment my fingers brushed the handle, the hallway fell away, like paper curling in fire. I was standing in a room made entirely of mirrors, floor to ceiling, infinity in every direction, and in each reflection, me. Not as I am now, but as I could have been. Some were rich, powerful, clean-shaven, proud. Others were warm, laughing, surrounded by people I'd pushed away in my life. Parents I never called, friends I let drift. A version of me holding a child in his arms. I felt something catching my throat. One mirror showed me sitting beside a hospital bed, holding Leora's hand as she slipped away. My hand in hers, her eyes at peace. I never got that moment. I ran when things got too heavy, told myself I was sparing her, told myself I wasn't strong enough to watch someone die. But he stayed. That version of me, he stayed. Another mirror. I was old, gray, still sharp, still alone, but at peace, reading under a tree, a dog at my side. I looked like someone who had finally stopped punishing himself. Then I saw him, a version of me with cold eyes, a gun in his hand, standing over a pile of bodies, the vigilante path, the one I almost took after I lost everything. He didn't look angry. He looked empty. The mirrors began to shimmer, and from the center of the room, a voice, not mine, not Mother Null, not anything human, spoke. All of them are you. All of them are true, but you only get one. Choose. My breath caught. I thought this was just a museum, I whispered. A place to look. The voice replied, even observers leave footprints. You've already made a mark. Staying has a cost. Suddenly, the mirrors cracked. Each one fractured differently. Some began to fade, some bled. The happy lives were the first to go. They vanished like smoke, like they'd never been real. Maybe they never were. And the remaining reflections, they all looked at me. No blinking, just watching, like predators. You cannot return unchanged, the voice said. You cannot leave without deciding who you are. And then came the pain, a deep, echoing ache behind my eyes, like memories that were never mine were now stitched into my mind. Flashes of laughter I never heard, the smell of dinners I never ate, faces that called me dad, friend, love, none of them real. But they felt real. They felt more me than the one who walked in from the cold. I fell to my knees again, blood in my nose, teeth clenched. "Make it stop," I gasped, but the voice was silent. Only the mirrors stared back, each version of me locked in their own world, and I could feel them thinking, wondering, which of us deserves to be real? And deep down, I wasn't sure I had the answer. Maybe none of us do. The mirrors went dark, all but one. It didn't glow, it didn't beckon, it simply waited. I stood, knees trembling, head pounding, blood still drying beneath my nose. I stepped toward the last reflection. He looked like me, but not quite. His face was worn, but not defeated. Lines at the corners of his eyes, not just from pain, but from smiling. He stood alone in a small home, hanging up a picture of a woman and a child. He touched the frame with a kind of reverence that made my throat tighten. This version of me wasn't rich, wasn't a hero, didn't change the world. He just stayed. He built something small, quiet, good. I reached for the glass, and for the first time, it wasn't cold. It felt warm, alive, like skin. The world rippled. Suddenly, I was sitting at a table I didn't recognize but did. A chipped mug in my hand, morning light spilling through thin curtains, a radio playing a scratchy old jazz tune. The woman from so many of the rooms walked in behind me, Leora. She kissed the top of my head and said, "You slept in, again." I laughed, and it didn't feel like someone else's laugh. It felt like mine. The door creaked open. A child's voice called out, "Dad, there's a cat on the roof." I stood too fast. My knee ached. Old injury. This was a real body. Solid. Warm. Present. But something was wrong. Behind Leora's eyes, there was a flicker. Behind the child's laugh, a slight delay, like an echo trying to keep up. I turned to the window. The city skyline was incomplete. Half-rendered buildings, clouds on a loop, a bird that never blinked. This wasn't real. It was a construct, a prison. The voice returned, inside my skull. "You have chosen. There is no going back." I spun, heart hammering. This is a simulation. No, it is a life. Leora stepped forward, touched my face. "You wanted this," she whispered. I backed away. "But it's not real." She tilted her head. "Does it feel real?" And it did. God, it did. I could stay. I could raise a child that never existed. Love a woman who forgave me. Forget the pain, the war, the loneliness. I could rest. But I'd know, deep down, every second, that this life was stolen from some other version of me, or worse, manufactured from my grief. I closed my eyes and whispered, "No." The room exploded into static, screaming data, shattered code, the warmth stripped away like flesh from bone. I was alone again, curled on the museum floor, the real me, older, broken, empty. The hallway behind me collapsed, the doors folding in on themselves. Every path, every life, every maybe, gone. Only one door remained now. It didn't glow, it didn't ask, it just stood open. The wind beyond it was cold, bitter, real. I stepped through, and the moment I did, I forgot her name, forgot the child's voice, forgot the taste of that morning light. All that remained was the ache, a hollow shape where something beautiful almost was. Outside, the world hadn't changed. Still broken, still bleeding. But I had. And that was the punishment. I remembered what could have been, and I had to live with what was.